My name is Caroline and I'm a patient of Kate Skinner. Well, years of chronic pain and confusion. And I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos when I was in my early teens, like around 11 or so. And they, weren't very helpful besides just, well, maybe physical therapy. And then I was basically, put into the pain clinic at the, I went into pain management, I guess. Is that, yeah, pain management. And so basically, it was like a, probably the worst treatment, I think, for hypermobility. It was like a lower dose of hydrocodone at first with like muscle relaxants, but then it got increasingly higher doses of narcotics with the muscle relaxants. And so I feel like I wore a lot of braces, like I just didn't know what was going on because everything hurt, and it was so strange, like there was no correlation, like stirring food hurt, and then things would get weak and it's just like, well, what is this, and I tried, rheumatology to see if it was something there and neurology, and they're all just sort of like, well, we don't know, and then at a certain point I was just on so many narcotics, and muscle relaxants and sleeping pills that it was just sort of ridiculous and counterintuitive to my goals of living a fulfilling life. And so Kate helped me rehabilitate from that because there was a lot of crud and a lot of like mislearned ways of moving, and then like my nervous system didn't quite know how to do things, and like my muscles like didn't know how to do things, like different muscles, like my neck tried to do everything in my body, and it was just like, why are you doing that? And Kate would like help me figure out what muscles I needed to use to do what, which was very helpful. Like there was shoveling 101, there were different classes for the season, like how to do archery, how to weed properly, or how to best live life in a way that increases mobility and decreases pain in a fulfilling way. And so that was really enjoyable, but difficult at first because there was just so much pain and so much weakness and just so much blah. It just felt like I was coming in to be punished weekly, and like I would go to physical therapy and then I couldn't move for the rest of the night, and then the next day I would just be like, oh dear God, why do I do this willingly? But then eventually it was just like, oh, exercising makes me feel better. Oh, if I do this exercise, like I don't have that much pain. And like once that sort of clicked into my limbic reward system, I think that, I just sort of got in the groove of like, well, these are things that you need to do. And I think that was one of the most beneficial things that I learned from Kate, was that attitude shift of like, the mechanics, the posture, and the exercises are just, they're a part of life. It's not like, it's like eating, it's like sleeping, it's just like, this is just in order to do what I want to do, these things have to be a part of my life. And so Kate's been really helpful for like, helping me build that into my life and sort of like plan, stuff. And so that's been great. I think I've been seeing Kate for 2 years.
Off and on.
Yeah, 2 years off and on, as stuff would go, I there would be like 1 month intensives, I would graduate to like every other week, and then she would, let me go out in the wild for a couple of months, and then I would return, and like, that's been a good system. For about a decade, my ability to walk the way that I wanted was kind of like hindered. Like there was a year or two that I was on crutches, and then like I walked with a cane because like there was just so much misunderstanding about what was causing the weakness, what was causing the pain, and then being on the amount of muscle relaxants and narcotics that I was on, that just, it created this, cycle. Now I'm like, I can walk like a lot further. I can walk like I walked for 7 hours one Saturday with a very vigorous, a very enthusiastic individual, and I was their walking companion, and like I can hike, I can do like dance classes, which I have, I wouldn't have been able to do before. Like being able to do that sort of stuff with confidence, though, that took, the walking bit probably took about a year, I would say, just to like do it without pain, to understand like, well, you need to use these muscles and you need to have this posture, and just strengthening all of those things so that it was something that I could do more normally. And now it's like that's really meaningful to me, having that ability after that. I wasn't able to work at all for a significant period of time, probably so I always misunderstood work because I didn't have, I just had all of this pain and this fatigue, and so work was just a struggle because I'd have to say that I could show up for this time and I just couldn't, and so it was really difficult for me to hold down a job, and so then I wasn't able to work at all. And so working with Kate over the past 2 years, I went from on a bad day not getting out of bed, or the highlight of the day being taking a shower, to working 40 hours a week. And so that is just something I still have, an inability to comprehend on some days. I have joked to people that I am just a zealot about physical therapy, and whenever somebody mentions they have some sort of injury or pain, I'm just like, well, have you heard of Great Divide? And it's just like, no, you don't understand. There's a 20-minute free consultation. You need to go and get the wisdom of Kate. And they're always just like, no, you don't. I've tried physical therapy before, and I'm just like, yeah, I've tried physical therapy before, and I've been disappointed and misunderstood before. But I feel like that's something that I really liked about your first module, when Kate was talking about her journey, and her chronic pain, and how dismissive so many professionals can be in not knowing, and just letting people have chronic pain and just well, that's just kind of how it is, and I don't know, it's just really inspiring that that's not Kate's attitude. I would definitely recommend taking the course, no matter your level of ability, because I feel the mechanics and knowledge are useful for just everyone on the spectrum of hypermobility and functionality. And I feel like it's just such a significant resource. It's like the manual that we should have been given at birth. It's how to move, it's how to function, it explains why there's pain here, but in order to reap the benefits of the system, I think personal accountability is really important, and putting in the effort to do the exercises. You literally saved my life countless times over, just because since I was 8 or 10, there is this constant pain, and not knowing how to do anything, and then just being foisted into this narcotic system, and it's just well, that's not helpful. And then finally having someone who listened and understood and had information to give was just it was a miracle for me. And so I'm eternally grateful and an eternal advocate.